Okay, today I want to talk about the biggest mistake of tennis players worldwide, and that's hitting the ball in the net. You know, it's funny because a lot of players, they've been playing for a long time and they're not quite sure why the ball went in the net. Now, there are numerous reasons, but I remember one time I was practicing with a player who happened to be top 50 on the ATP tour in doubles, in men's doubles. And he was hitting a lot of balls in the net. So I said to him, you know, why do you think that's happening? And he said, well, I'm probably not following through. You know, he didn't really know. And it really doesn't have a lot to do with the follow through. The ball is already gone. It has a lot to do with what you're doing before you hit the ball. That's the key. When you're in the baseline area, you have to swing low to high. Assuming, you know, you're trying to drive the ball, you're trying to hit it with topspin. Slice is a totally different ball game. All right, so you're trying to drive it, hit it with topspin. When you're in the baseline area, if you swing too horizontally, start walking to the net rather, to pick your ball up, because it's not going to go over. Gravity is too strong of a force. You'd have to hit the ball 200 miles an hour. No one on the planet can hit 200. So you've got to swing low to high. Now, there are numerous reasons why low to high doesn't happen. You may be too tight in your hitting shoulder. If your shoulder's too tight, if you're white knuckling the handle, you're holding it real tight, your whole arm is going to be tight all the way to your shoulder, and you're not going to let that racket drop. Now, how low does the racket have to drop? When you're in the baseline area, you want to let the racket drop at least a good foot below the contact point. So then you have a nice gradual, so I bring the racket back, I come down a foot below the ball, then I've got a nice gradual low to high swing. So when the ball leaves my strings, it's ascending, it's going up. So that's the key. You've got to get that knee bend. That's why tennis pros are famous for saying bend your knees. But if you bend your knees and you have a tight shoulder, it's not going to work, because you'd be like this, all right? So you want to let the shoulder relax, the hitting shoulder, and let the racket drop at least a foot below that contact point. So I've got a couple of things you can do. Number one, you could use a chair and just put a chair there and practice your swing and just brush the chair and then swing up. So if this point here is 1 foot below the contact point, from here you're going to swing up. This is 1 foot higher than this level here. So that can help you. Just drop it down, touch the chair, and swing. Keep the shoulder loose, and that's going to help. You've got to bend the knees. So that's, you know, most of the time when you hit the ball in the net, you'll remember you were standing up too straight, you weren't bending, you might have been too tight in your hitting shoulder. You could be swinging too horizontal. When you close the stance like this to hit a forehand, you want to extend the racket towards the target at least till here. So let's say I'm hitting the ball here. Now I'm still driving through, and then from there, then you pull across. But if the front shoulder pulls out this way too soon, you're going to swing too horizontal, ball's going to go in the net. Another thing you can do, use a light weight. All right, I've got, this thing here weighs 3 pounds, okay? Rackets are under 1 pound, so you've got a little weight in your hand, and just turn like you're hitting that forehand and let the weight drop. Just drop the weight, let it fall, and that's going to get you in that good habit of dropping that racket below the contact point. Okay, here's a couple of forehands at real-time speed, and now one in slow motion. Okay, little split step right there, up on the balls of the feet. And I start to turn the shoulders. The racket is coming back in a closed position. Now I'm starting to bend here. I'm going down. The hitting shoulder is staying loose, and right there at that point, the racket is a foot below the contact point. Now the next time the camera stops will be 1 foot higher than this point. Right there, contact point. Now the finish is just going to drive through and come across. Okay, here from the back, a little split step right there. I see the ball, I start to turn the shoulders. Racket face comes back closed. And you'll see now I'm starting to drop down there. Right there, you'll see that rear leg is bending. And from here now, the racket will fall even more. My hitting shoulder stays loose and relaxed. Okay, right there, I'm about a foot below the contact point. From here now, I'll swing on that upward angle to make contact. Okay, so remember those tips and use those when you're out practicing, or go out, and practice beforehand, actually, touching the chair, using that light weight. That way, you're really going to burn those signals in the brain, which controls every muscle in the body. They used to talk about muscle memory. The muscles do not have a memory. It all comes from here, the brain. So, get out there, practice those things, and you're going to find yourself, you're going to be hitting less and less balls in the net. The biggest mistake of tennis players worldwide. So, for more tips like these, to go to my website or to go to my Rock Solid Forehand course that goes into detail on everything in the forehand, ground strokes, volleys, forehand slice, approach shots, everything. Check it out in the description box. All the best and happy hitting.